Alright, we're going to try and do a barrel swap on a Stevens Model 200. It's currently a 25-06, and we're going to put on a 243 barrel because that's just what I have handy. We've got the front scope base has been removed. We're going to use an actual action wrench on this one. It's not really necessary because this barrel has already been pulled off, but just to show you how to use the action wrench in case you haven't used one. We have a set of oak blocks that we're going to use in bench vise. It's sort of a third hand, or just to show you how to do it in case you don't want to use the action wrench and you just want to use the nut wrench and a barrel vise. So we also have the Savage barrel nut wrench. We have the Wheeler action wrench, the same one as for a Remington 700. And just for fun, I also have a port entry action wrench. This is for a Remington 700 right hand. I had to do a little bit of modification to it to make it work on the Savage, but it took all of 30 seconds with a Dremel, and now it works just fine. So what we do, we've got scope base off, and next step is obviously make sure it's unloaded. This one we've already pulled the bolt on. So we're going to take this and our oak blocks, and we're just going to put them in the vise, just pretty much to hold it in place. If you're going to try and do this without an action wrench, using just a barrel vise and the nut wrench, you want to soak it in oil for a good 24 hours. Otherwise, you may have a hard time breaking the nut loose. Like I said, this one has already been popped off, so it's not really going to be that difficult. In fact, it's just barely on there. So we'll slide our wrench on. Let's see if I can get this into the vise here. Get it in there good and tight. And you'll have to really tighten it down if you're just going to try and use just the nut wrench. It takes a lot of torque sometimes to break them loose. Right now we're just using the blocks to hold it. All we're going to have to do is just pop it, and this one will come right off. If that doesn't work, you've all seen about applying a little bit of heat or a breaker bar to give you a little more leverage. Like I said, this one is just going to come right off because it's already taken off. So we'll thread the nut a little off, slide the recoil lug. Now the action is just going to spin right off. We'll rotate the whole thing one more time in the blocks. The vise just gives you a third hand, so it's a lot easier to deal with. If you need the extra leverage, there's a 1/2 inch drive you can put on there and give yourself a breaker bar, but it's really not going to need it. This one is loose. Just pop off. And once you got it loose, yeah, you don't need the wrench anymore. So just spin it off. Spin the action off there. And there we go. Here's action. Cut off recoil lug. So our wrench aside and then spin the nut off of the barrel. Here is our 243 barrel that we're going to put on instead. Again, we'll just slide it into the blocks, use them like a third hand, and we grab our headspace gauge. There we go. And again, this is just a go gauge. We're going to tighten it down onto the go gauge and set our headspace off of that. So what we'll do is spin the nut onto the barrel. Just spin it on all the way. And that feels good right there. So pull the gauge out. And I don't tighten the nut all that tight because I'm probably going to pull this barrel off again in the very near future anyways. So I'll go hand tight and then a little bit, and that's it. We've got our barrel on there, it's head spaced, and make sure everything functions. Don't feel any drag, feels good. That's all there is to it. Now we'll put it back in the stock, take it out, and do some test firing. And hopefully everything will be just fine. Keep an eye on your brass. Make sure you don't have too much headspace. Make sure brass isn't stretching too much. You're not having any problems. And it's that simple. It takes maybe 10 minutes once you get it down. So there you go. That's all there is to swapping a barrel on a Savage.